Hey everyone, welcome back to another deep dive with us.
You got it.
Today we're going to be looking at
It's
something
something.
kind of interesting.
Mm.
It's this question of height preferences in dating.
Yes.
And
Big question.
yeah, big question. And we're going to be taking a look at this through the lens of a
A very spicy Reddit post.
spicy.
Yeah, it was on the Ask Minute Advice subreddit.
Oh, wow.
And the title of it is A Doozy.
Okay.
Why do even very short women insist on dating men over 6 feet?
Ooh, that's loaded.
It is, and it got a ton of attention.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Thousands of comments, thousands of upvotes. So clearly it's something that people have a lot of feelings about.
Yeah, it seems like one of those almost like taboo subjects that people don't really want to talk about openly.
Yeah, you can't.
But you can't really talk about height.
People have these really
Come on.
strong
You
preferences.
can't talk about certain things.
Yeah.
So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
So the original poster of this post, he was dating a woman who was 5'1",
Okay.
and she basically told him that anything under 6 feet was a deal breaker.
Like not even on the table.
Yeah, and she even considered 5'10" to be short.
Short.
So I mean, talk about high standards, right?
I mean, it's definitely. I think a lot of people would say that that's pretty unrealistic,
Especially
because 6 feet tall in a lot of places in the world is already above average for a man.
Yeah.
So to say that 5'10" is short is like kind of a wild statement.
It is, and it really got people talking in the comments section.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, thousands of comments. So
For sure.
there were a lot of people chiming in with their own experiences and perspectives.
Yeah.
One guy, he was 6'2". He said that his 5'1" date basically told him
Wow.
that if he were any shorter, she would have walked out.
Oh.
Like right then and there. Like that's how important height was to her.
Brutal.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
there was another commenter
Yeah.
who was 6'1",
Okay.
and he was talking about how like throughout his dating life he had all these shorter women like aggressively pursuing him.
Interesting.
And he was kind of joking about it being some kind of like primal instinct to try to snag a tall mate so they could have tall offspring.
Yeah, it's like they're gonna get that tall gene in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting because the genetics of height,
Oh, it's way more complicated than
they're
that.
way more complicated than that. It's not just like tall plus short equals tall child.
Yeah, you can't just do
It's something
addition with
different.
genes.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
And there were actually some commenters who pointed that out. One guy, he was 5'10",
Okay.
and his wife was 5'7",
Okay.
and they had 2 sons. One of their sons is 6'3",
Wow.
and the other was 5'8".
Huh.
So like
That's a
total
crapshoot.
Crapshoot, right?
Yeah.
And then there was another commenter who said that both of their parents were average height, but they ended up being 5'9".
So, yeah, there's really no way to predict it.
There's no predicting it. It's a mystery.
Totally. It's like a genetic lottery.
Yeah. So if it's not just about genetics, then what is it about?
Right. What is driving this?
This preference for tall men, even among women who aren't particularly tall themselves.
Yeah. I mean, one of the commenters suggested that it might be less about the height itself and more about what they perceive that height to mean.
Okay.
So the social status.
Social status that's attached to being a tall guy.
Exactly. Like dominance, power, success.
Interesting.
It's almost like height is a visual shorthand for desirability in a way.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that. In a lot of cultures, height, especially in men, is associated with those kinds of qualities.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that would kind of translate into the dating world as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there's another commenter who brought up the idea of arm candy.
Ooh, arm candy.
Yeah, and this idea that some people are looking for partners who are going to be seen as desirable by other people.
Okay.
Almost like it reflects back on them in some way.
Okay, so it's almost like a status symbol.
Kind of, yeah. Like if I have this really tall, attractive partner, then that means I'm worthy in some way.
Yeah.
So it can be tied up with insecurity.
Interesting. So it's fascinating how on the one hand you have this like strong preference for tall men. But then on the other hand, there's also this kind of backlash against judging people solely on their appearance.
Right?
You know, like is this weird kind of contradiction.
The weird dichotomy, for sure.
And that actually brings us to one of the main themes that emerged in the comments, which was this sense of hypocrisy. A lot of the commenters were calling out this perceived hypocrisy of women who are demanding a certain height in men, but then get upset if their own physical attributes are being judged.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways, you know?
Exactly. It's like a double standard.
Right.
And there was one commenter who even compared it to those guys who say that women are over the hill after they turn 30.
Right. It's the same kind of...
Yeah, it's the same kind of shallow way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's reducing a person to just a set of physical attributes.
Totally.
You know, and ignoring all the other things that make a person who they are.
Right. The personality, the character, the compatibility, all that stuff.
Right. Like, who cares if a guy is 6 feet tall if he's a jerk?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to date a jerk.
And to be fair, you know, we've been talking a lot about women having this preference for tall men. But it's important to remember that not all women are like that. Right. There were plenty of women in the comments who were saying that height is not a big deal to them. Some of them said they actually prefer men who are closer to their own height.
Sure.
Some of them said that personality is way more important.
Of course.
And some of them even admitted to feeling intimidated by men who were significantly taller.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, you know, there's really no monolithic female perspective on this issue.
No.
It's a spectrum, just like everything else.
Yeah.
So what stands out to you about all these different comments?
Well, it's really interesting how this seemingly simple question about height preferences kind of opens up this Pandora's box of issues.
Ooh, Pandora's box.
Yeah, because you're talking about societal norms and gender dynamics and the psychology of attraction.
Yeah.
And then even the ethics of judging potential partners based on physical attributes.
It really gets you thinking. And it makes me wonder about the experiences of men who don't fit that 6 foot tall ideal.
Yeah. What about...
You know, what's it like to be a guy who's shorter and navigating the dating world where this preference is so prevalent?
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's talk about that next.
Okay.
So we've been talking about how some women have this like strong preference for tall men, but what about the guys who don't?
Right. What about the other side of the coin?
Yeah, like what about their experiences?
Yeah, there were a lot of comments from guys who were, you know, under 6 feet tall, who were sharing their experiences. And it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, they talked about feeling overlooked, rejected.
Yeah.
Just because of their height.
It's like they don't measure up.
Yeah. And it's something they can't control.
Right.
You know, it's not like
they can just wake up one morning and be taller.
You get taller, yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes people forget that, like, this is a form of discrimination, too.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's easy to dismiss
heightism.
Yeah, but
it's real.
It is.
And it can have a real impact on people's lives.
For sure. And, you know, you see it in the comments, like guys are saying, I have to get over it or, you know, focus on my other qualities. But it's easier said than done.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to just brush off.
Especially when you're constantly being reminded that you don't measure up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can really wear a person down.
Yeah. And one commenter, he actually used the phrase bottom feeder behavior to describe how he felt like he had to approach dating because of his height.
Oh, that's so sad.
Like he felt like he had to lower his standards and just settle for less.
Settle because he felt like he wasn't worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like...
It's heartbreaking.
It's just so sad to think that someone would feel that way, you know, just because of something that's...
Yeah. So it shows you how much these societal pressures can really warp people's self-perception and their dating strategies.
Totally. And, you know, we talk a lot about, like, body positivity and self-love. But it's easy to forget that those messages don't always reach everyone.
No, not at all.
And they don't always stick.
They don't always stick.
Right.
And so you have people who are still really struggling.
Yeah, and they have these insecurities, and then those insecurities are just amplified.
Amplified by society.
And these societal expectations.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's important to remember that these preferences, they're not just like harmless personal opinions.
Right.
They can have real consequences.
They do.
You know, they can perpetuate inequalities. They can reinforce harmful stereotypes.
Absolutely.
And they can really hurt people.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not just about like individual hurt feelings. It's about recognizing how these seemingly superficial preferences can contribute to these larger systems of oppression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bigger issue.
Yeah. And reading through those comments, I was really struck by how many of the shorter guys just seemed resigned to the fact that their height was always going to be this hurdle in dating.
Like they've just accepted it.
Yeah, it's like they've internalized this societal narrative.
Totally.
That they're somehow less desirable.
Right.
Because they're not tall.
It's classic internalized bias.
Yeah.
You know, they've absorbed these messages about height and attractiveness.
When it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. Exactly.
And one guy even said that he had just given up on dating altogether.
Oh, wow.
Because he was so tired.
That's so sad.
Of the rejection.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is, and it just highlights the very real emotional toll that these superficial preferences can take.
Yeah.
And it's a call to action, I think.
Okay.
You know, we need to challenge these norms and create a more inclusive dating landscape.
Where people are valued for...
Where people are valued for who they are.
Who they are. Not just...
You know, for...
How tall they are.
How tall they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
There were some positive comments, too.
Yeah. There were a couple of women who shared how much they appreciate...
Yes.
Short kings.
Short kings.
Yeah.
Love it.
And how height has never been a factor for them in choosing a partner.
Yeah. It's encouraging to hear that.
It is. You know, it reminds us that there are people out there who
prioritize substance over superficiality.
Yeah. Who are looking for those deeper qualities.
Oh, absolutely.
And one woman even mentioned that she prefers men who are closer to her own height.
Yeah.
Because it makes kissing and cuddling more comfortable.
Right.
Which is like a very practical consideration. But it also highlights the importance of finding someone who fits you.
Physically, emotionally, intellectually.
Fits you on
all those different levels.
It's about finding a partner who
Yes.
complements you in all the ways that matter.
Absolutely. Someone who shares your values, who supports your dreams, who makes you feel seen and appreciated for who you truly are.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It is. And, you know, this whole discussion about height preferences makes me think about the broader implications of beauty standards in general.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So we've been, like, really focused on this one specific thing, height preferences. But it seems like there's this, like, bigger conversation to be had here about beauty standards in general.
Like this whole Reddit post is just one example.
It's like a much bigger...
Yeah, it's like this little window into this much bigger issue.
Totally.
And it's like, we have all these, like, invisible measuring sticks for everything. You know? It's like height, weight,
body shape,
facial features.
Facial features, hair color, eye color.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's crazy.
There's a standard for everything.
And if you don't measure up, then you're somehow less worthy or less desirable.
Right. And it's not just limited to dating either.
No.
Like these beauty standards, they affect everything. They affect your self-esteem, how you see yourself, your job prospects.
Yeah.
How you interact with other people, even your mental health.
Yeah. It's like this constant pressure to conform.
Constant pressure.
To fit in.
To be perfect.
Yeah. And it's exhausting.
Exhausting.
And it makes you wonder, like, where do these standards even come from?
Right. Like, are we born with them?
Yeah.
Or do we learn them?
Like, is it nature or nurture?
Yeah, it's probably a bit of both, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, there's some evidence that suggests that certain physical traits might have been evolutionarily advantageous.
Okay.
You know, like signaling health or fertility or strength.
Okay.
But over time, those ancient preferences have been amplified and distorted by cultural norms, media portrayals, marketing messages.
It's like the whole beauty industry is built on making us feel insecure.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that profits off of our insecurities.
It's crazy. And what's even more frustrating is that these standards, they're always changing.
Right. What's considered attractive one year might be completely different the next year.
Exactly. And it's like what's considered beautiful in one culture might be seen as completely unattractive in another culture.
Totally different standards.
Yeah, it's like this moving target.
It's a recipe for dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
For low self-esteem.
And I think that's the real danger, is when we start to internalize these standards.
Yeah, and we start judging ourselves and other people based on them.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes really harmful.
So what can we do about it?
Well, I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
We need to recognize the influence that these beauty standards have on us, how they're shaping our perceptions.
And then what?
And then we need to question those assumptions.
Okay.
Challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
Start celebrating the unique beauty in every individual.
Yeah, like instead of trying to fit into this mold.
Right.
We need to like appreciate
our own.
Yeah, our own unique
qualities. Our own unique qualities and the unique qualities of the people around us.
The people around us, yeah.
Yeah.
and recognize that beauty is more than skin deep.
Exactly. Beauty is about kindness and compassion and intelligence and humor and
resilience.
Resilience, all these wonderful qualities that make us human.
So to bring it back to like the whole height thing, it seems like that's just one tiny example.
One tiny example.
This much bigger issue of how we're obsessed with
physical appearance.
Physical appearance.
And how those preferences can be arbitrary and harmful.
But amidst all the negativity and the criticism in those comments, there are also those like glimmers of hope.
Right. The people who are challenging the status quo, who are appreciating a more diverse range of beauty.
And those voices are important.
They're so important.
Yeah, they remind us that like change is possible.
It is possible.
That beauty standards are not set in stone.
Right.
And that we have the power to create a more inclusive and accepting world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, if this deep dive has resonated with you and you want to hear more
thought-provoking?
Yeah, more thought-provoking discussions like this.
Conversations.
Be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul.
That's right.
On your favorite podcast platform.
And if you're looking for even deeper dives into the complexities of human behavior,
the human psyche,
head over to YouTube and check out Shauna Palage's channel.
She's amazing.
She's got a ton of great videos on there.
Lots of insights.
Lots of insights.
So thanks for joining us on this journey.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, and remember, true beauty lies not in conforming to these external standards.
No.
But in embracing
our authentic self.
Our authentic selves and celebrating the diversity of human experience.
Well said.
Until next time, keep those voices strong.
We'll see you next time.